ahead and start the stream.
All right.
I'll go quiet for about 2 minutes.
Cool.
Welcome, I'm Jeremy, and movies are terrible. You never remember how long a minute actually is until you have to sit and watch the clock for one. You know what I'm saying? Ladies and gentlemen, joining me here on the line, welcome back, Caleb of Caleb Says Stuff. What's up, buddy?
Hey man, how's it going today?
I'm good. Did that feel long for you?
No, because I'm playing No Man's Sky while we do this because I'm a professional. So
Good.
And I take podcasting very seriously.
Good. Would you say you take No Man's Sky or podcasting more seriously?
Honestly, they're probably about the same at this level.
Good.
I probably put about as much effort into each of them, which is very minimal.
So, well, good. Glad to have the dedication. That's always important. So, for the folks at home that maybe gave up on No Man's Sky the first time around, they kind of fixed it up, huh?
Yeah, I'm obsessed, man. It's unhealthy how bad they got me hooked. Yeah, I just got a space freighter. I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah, it's a pretty decent game. It's still a mindless farming game, but it's pretty good.
So, just kind of side question relating to games, but I'm talking old games. Do you play chess?
No, I have when I was a long time ago. I probably wouldn't even know how to play it at this point. It's been that many years.
I play with friends a little bit. I've got one buddy that comes over here and just beats me religiously. So I downloaded this app. It's just a regular game for my iPhone. It's called Chess. It's as generic as it could possibly be. No fancy graphics or anything. But I got it set on easy difficulty, like beginner or novice or whatever they call the very first level. And I've played probably about 50 games, and I have not won once.
That would be me if I even tried it, man. I literally don't even remember the rules. Like, it's been that long since I've played a game of chess.
So what else, man? You got anything exciting happen this week?
No, that's it, man. I have done absolutely nothing. I went to a Rockies game and remembered I don't like baseball, but I used to like. Yeah, I used to like going to games. I've been to a couple Mariners games, but that was when I was a drinker, and I don't think I like the game as much as I liked the alcohol. So now that I don't drink, I definitely did not have near as much fun.
I was definitely going to ask you that, because when we go to the ball games, it's more just about walking around the stadium with a couple of beers and like talking to people. You see people you run into them there. So
Yeah, I went with a couple of cool people, so that was cool. But like, I left early. I got bored. And I was like, I'm gonna go walk around downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So I had free tickets, so I couldn't complain. It wasn't like I paid.
You ever see that episode of Sunny? Actually, there's a couple with her on it, but Dennis is like, he's messing around with this girl, and they call her Dead Tooth.
Yes, I've seen every episode of Always Sunny.
So I was Dead Tooth for like, I don't know, a couple weeks. Like I had to get what do they call it? A root canal on my bottom tooth in the front. And it was kind of turning like yellow or brown. And the girl today was like, all right, so I went and got a crown put on, which is great because now it's the same color as the rest of my teeth. Mm-hmm. But when she was about to do the procedure, she's like, I guess we're going to do this to the brown one. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, you tell me.
Like, I wanted to get rid of one of the white ones. But.
Yeah. Any tooth that you refer to as the brown one is clearly the one I want to hold on to.
So I have a funny Always Sunny in Philadelphia story. So actually, my first date with my wife was we watched the first episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is The Gang Gets Racist. And for people who are listening who do not know, my wife is black. And so that episode was the first thing we watched, but the whole episode is about him trying to prove he's not racist by dating a black girl just to prove to a white girl that he's not racist so he can date the white girl.
It's episode 1, I think.
Yep,
it's the pilot.
Episode.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a great show.
And that was the first thing I've ever watched with my wife, and she cracked up, and I was like, okay, she can handle my politically incorrect ass, because that was like, I was like, okay, yeah, this is going to work out. And now here we are 9 years later.
And thanks to Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Always Sunny, I know.
Who would have ever thought? So, all right, well, that's a little bit about what I actually hadn't seen an episode of Sunny in quite a while, but I've caught up on quite a bit of shit this week. But before I even get to that, I started listening to WTF with Mark Maron.
I haven't listened to that.
Are you familiar with him?
I'm familiar with. Remind me, the name sounds super familiar, but I cannot.
So I don't know if you've seen Glow on Netflix, but he is the coach on Glow. He had a show on IFC called Maron. He's a stand-up comic, and he's real fucking cool.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about.
He's got this successful podcast. He's a rocker guy, you know, plays guitar and shit, and his podcast is really stripped down. For years it was in his garage, and he'll bring on comics and actors and stuff like that. He actually got Barack Obama on the show while he was still in office, and that was like a huge get for him, obviously. Bumped up his ratings and his his viewership or listenership or whatever. But anyways, I've been listening and kind of catching up on his shows. I listened to a couple of the newer ones, but man, one of the most fascinating ones that I listened to was with Sacha Baron Cohen, who plays Borat and Bruno and Ollie G, and just kind of hearing his process and the kind of like capers and fucking madness that ensues while he's off filming was really interesting to me.
I don't know if you listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, but he has, I saw it pop in my feed. He has, his episode today is with Macaulay Culkin. I just want to watch that one. I think I'm going to watch that sometime tomorrow or listen to it.
That's funny you say that, man. One of the last episodes that I listened to, a couple of days ago, I listened to the Macaulay Culkin episode with Mark Maron, and it was real interesting. He talked a little bit about Michael Jackson and what it was like to be a young child star and shit. But literally the last episode that I listened to was with Joe Rogan, and to hear those two dudes going back and forth was really interesting because they're both dominant personalities in their own space. You know, they're each hosts of their own podcast respectively, and to hear their their worldviews and how they differ and how both of them still are like pretty strong in their stance. It was fucking cool, man.
Oh, I love Joe Rogan. Why I like Joe Rogan is he'll bring on people that he completely disagrees with, and he'll be like, I'm just going to talk for 3 hours, and we'll hear the craziness.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw his Alex Jones podcast.
No.
Watch Joe Rogan and Alex Jones. It's the funniest thing you'll ever see, because he gets Alex Jones really, really high and really, really drunk.
What?
And they record a podcast, and he just starts like, you know, Alex Jones is crazy anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But he starts going off about, like, interdimensional child molesters.
Oh,
and,
wow.
like, it's brilliant. Like, it's comedic gold. If you ever watch something funny, just search Alex Jones, Joe Rogan. It's like 3 hours of just Alex Jones high and drunk.
Oh, I'm all in. Like, all you had to do is say that he was on the show, and now knowing that he was, like, fucked up while he was doing it, I'm all over that.
Yeah. He's insane, and I just loved it. It was, like, one of my favorite shows of all time.
Yeah. So, that's one of the things that I've been watching. I know you've been playing No Man's Sky. Have you caught any movies or any TV shows?
Yeah, I've been, I've been catching up on Denny Villeneuve stuff, because I've only ever played her. So I watched Enemy with Jake Gyllenhaal, and I watched Sicario finally.
Okay.
Enemy, I thought, was a beautiful film as far as, like, directed. It's very much, you can see it's a director of, like, Blade Runner, like, from the cinematography and all that. It's beautiful. I'm taking a stab at what I think was a story, but I could be completely off base. Because by the end of the movie, I was like, it was one of those movies where it ended, and I was like, what the hell did I just watch? I had to sit there and think about it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I still don't know how I feel about it, but from what, well, I probably don't want to say it because it might be a spoiler from what I could.
It's an older movie. Yeah, you guys, if you don't want to know what happens, just check down in the description. I'll post a timestamp.
It'll be like 3 minutes max that I'll talk about it.
I really want to know what you think, anyways. I got my own take on it.
So from what I gather, and I could be completely wrong, I think there's not two characters, obviously. I think it's just him. I think it's an artistic take on his inner struggle of giving up a life of wanting to be an actor and sleeping around and coming to terms with the fact that he is now a college professor and he's married with a kid on the way. I think it's like his two, and I think by the end of the film, it's that part of him dying in order to finally fully take over of the new version of him, which is a professor.
So we're like splitting the difference 50-50. The pregnant girlfriend is the professor's girlfriend.
Okay.
No, that's what I'm asking you, not the actor's girlfriend.
Yes. Well, there's no two characters. They're one character.
Right.
So yeah. So the pregnant girlfriend, because she does ask him at the end, she goes, how was school, when they're laying in bed? You know, she's like, come to bed. And she goes, how was school, Tim? She straight up asks him. And at first I was like, oh, she knows. And then what's it called? I think, so the actor is essentially him in a different part of his life. Like, he used to sleep around, used to want to be an actor.
Sure. Okay.
You know, and then, you know, when he dies at the end of that movie, that's where that part of him's dying. He's come to terms with the fact that, like, I'm a failed actor. I no longer sleep around. I am a loyal guy. And he's still struggling with it by obviously when he looks at that key.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think it's metaphorical as well. I really didn't take it as they're literally being two different characters. There's a couple things like the scar on the rib cage. You know, there's a little bit of religious symbolism there about how Adam plucked a rib to create a man, and so there's definite symbolism in it. I know that the spider is sometimes seen as a symbol of fertility, which is interesting because of the fact that the girl was pregnant, and then the image that we see at the very, very end of the movie. So yeah, I couldn't really even speak more specifically than just those things that I kind of picked up on. It was a very interesting movie. Like, it kept me intrigued the whole time, and yeah, it wasn't one of those movies where all of a sudden at the end everything comes into perspective or there's like clarity. It's ambiguous, and I actually did like that, but not near as much as I liked Sicario.
Sicario I liked. I definitely enjoyed. I think for me, it was one of those scenarios where I wish I would have watched it when it came out instead of after all the hype around it.
Sure, yeah, I get it.
I think I set myself up for failure. I definitely enjoyed it. It's a solid film. But I think after the whole, like, I mean, everyone was like, this is the greatest movie you'll ever see. And, and I was like, oh, and I watched it and I was like, it's good, but it's obviously not Blade Runner good. And I think had I seen it first, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more.
Yeah, it's definitely not on the Blade Runner level to me. I think what I liked about it the most is that, like, it subverts the action movie tropes pretty much at every turn. It's real fucking dark, and it's kind of an exploration about, you know, it's just a story about morality on a really base level, but it kind of has that like grimy fucking aesthetic and atmosphere of like old David Fincher, like Seven or something, you know. It's just this like real grimy underworld, and I like the way it's not like real political subtext, because all of that shit in Juarez was actually a lot bigger back 10 years ago or something like that. Yeah. But the idea that like the government is staging coups and going and throwing false flags for the sake of basically controlling the income of drugs from Mexico, you know?
Yeah, I definitely thought it was a well-written, of course, a phenomenally acted film, well-directed. It's one of those movies that I almost want to go back and watch again now that I've kind of like gone, oh, okay, and watch it without this, because I like put it on like, this is going to be one of the greatest movie experiences of my life, and I kind of set myself up for failure.
I went and saw Christopher Robin on Sunday.
Ooh, that's one of my most anticipated movies of the year. I haven't gotten around to it though.
Real quick, did you see Beauty and the Beast in theaters? Did you catch that, the live action?
I did.
Okay. What how was your experience in that?
I put it in my top 10 worst films of 2017.
Okay. Well, I caught about the same level of enjoyment out of Christopher Robin as I did out of Beauty and the Beast, which is not a lot. I didn't dislike Christopher Robin. I pretty much disliked Beauty and the Beast. It was fucking stupid in a lot of ways, but
I thought it was an awful film. I'm shocked that people love that movie as much as they do.
Oh, dude, people just love hearing the greatest hits, you know what I mean? Like, it's easy, it's familiar, and they like that, and I can appreciate it, I understand, but I felt like Pooh was really, really great. Jim Cummins voiced Pooh and Tigger like he always has, which is fantastic, and both of them were portrayed really, really well. Eeyore was done really well, but like the whole Christopher Robin story part just felt like Hook or so, like you don't want to see an old cynical man interacting with stuffed animals. You want to see like Christopher Robin as we knew him, and so it could have been this sweet kind of mundane Pooh story, but they opted to make it like rediscovering your childhood kind of thing, and it just didn't work for me.
It looked like a lot of drama and a lot of emotion, like a little more grown up take on it, or is it kind of, or
it's swimming towards it. It really wants to hit that sentimental note. I mean, it's Disney. They really want to hit you in the feels, and I feel like it rang false to me. So I'm really curious what you think about it, but I have a feeling you're not going to love it.
Oh, that's just, so Pooh is one of my few Disney properties that I actually really, really enjoy. So I'm very excited about it. And this is the thing about being live. Apparently my light bulb, because I'm on dimmers, is like freaking out because I don't have the dimmer turned all the way up. So I'm taking you guys for a ride right now.
Yeah, I love it.
All right.
I noticed that it got dark in there.
Yeah, I was like, what? Because I have it like halfway turned on. See? There we go.
There you go.
All right. No, apparently this one just burnt out. Well, cool. I got another light right next to me. This is the thing about having apparently lamps everywhere around you.
Good.
See?
Good.
All right. Yeah. But no, Pooh is arguably my favorite Disney franchise. So I'm pretty excited about it. But I've seen other live action Disney films and I haven't been impressed.
They just need to fucking chill out with them. It's like, those movies are great because at one time they were original stories. I know we always go back to this well, but like they're just going to keep on doing these fucking live action versions of the animated movies that people used to like.
Oh yeah, they're going to beat it into the ground, which, I mean, I get it. It's printed money. I guess say I fault them for that, but I don't know. Sometimes it's a little much for my taste.
Yeah, you're 100% right. So I don't know if you're super familiar with Bo Burnham. He's a stand-up comic / musician. Are you a fan?
I do think he's good. Did you see his 8th grade or what?
I haven't seen 8th grade, but that's what I was winding up to because he made his directorial debut. I think he's a very poignant comic and writer. He's got a lot of really smart shit to say. Like I think his last one was Happy, And then he did one called What back in the day. He's really good. Anyways, if you guys haven't checked him out, definitely recommend doing that. But yeah, a lot of times comics can transition over and be really good dramatic actors, sometimes even directors. And I could tell he had it within him. I've been wanting to get around to it. To be honest, a lot of times I go to spectacle movies in the theaters and wait for the smaller independent releases to come out at the house because I can pretty much enjoy them equally. Where if I watch one of the spectacle movies at the house, it tends to diminish the enjoyment of it.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. You know, it's one of those things. I kind of told myself that I was not going to watch as many spectacle movies this year. That, you know, I was kind of concentrate on smaller films.
That's good.
And hold on, my light is actually like burning right now and sparking. Hold on.
Oh yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, I don't want to burn down my house for a podcast.
No, do your thing. So yeah, for you guys that don't know, there's a movie called 8th Grade. That's what we were kind of about to talk about. It is about a girl played by Elsie Fisher. She plays a character named Kayla Day, and she's just basically overcoming the day-to-day obstacles of being a 8th grade girl about to go into high school. And it, you know, tackles social media and cyberbullying and image and all of that kind of stuff. Again, not necessarily the kind of movie that I am chomping at the bit to say, but because of the talent involved and because a lot of the reviews that have come out, it's definitely piqued my interest. And what's interesting about this movie is it's called 8th Grade, which kind of would indicate that the audience would be a younger group. However, the film itself is rated R, which is kind of a conflict of audiences, right? Because the thing is, this is a story that would probably really speak to kid audiences, preteen audiences, but unless they have a parent or guardian go with them, they're not actually able to catch the film. So what's fascinating is that they're getting around the R ratings with free screenings that are actually taking place tonight as we speak. Have you ever heard of anything like that, Caleb? Oh, hold on.
I totally.
Did you burn the house
missed
down?
All of it.
Okay.
No, we're live. I turned off the lights though. I don't know what the hell's going on.
You made the wise decision. So I was saying, Bo Burnham is screening 8th Grade tonight for free to all ages. There's no age restriction due to the fact that it's rated R. I guess it's probably illegal to sell tickets to minors, but because of the fact that they're giving them away for free, people are allowed to go and see it. So I guess
that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, I've never heard of anything like that before. I guess my main question is, if it's a movie called 8th Grade and it's rated R, who is the audience for something like that?
I actually think it's us or 8th graders who aren't pansies. So,
well, yeah, my parents would have definitely taken me if I needed to go, and they couldn't buy me tickets. They'd have went with me for sure, you know?
I saw Army of Darkness in theater when I was like 10, like, you know what I mean? And I'm fine.
So, but like those kind of movies like Alien 3 or Bram Stoker's Dracula, like all of those kind of movies would be super appealing to a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old. Do you think a kid in 8th grade would want to go see a drama about an 8th grade girl?
I think a smart, weird, awkward kid who makes YouTube videos like the main character of 8th grade would.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's very timely, obviously, the themes and shit that he's exploring in it. I mean, to these kids, he's like ancient now, and to me, he's like a kid still, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think of him as a kid, and but you're right, to these kids, he's not a kid. You know,
yeah.
He's an old man.
I keep forgetting how fucking old. I mean, I don't, but like this puts it in perspective, you know? Holy shit.
No, man. Sometimes I talk to people at work and I'll reference something. They have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm like, oh, I'm old.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's cool. I'm kind of curious to see if there's any, any coverage of it, any thoughts from 8th graders and what they end up thinking of this movie. But I think it was ended up rated R because they say fuck a couple of times in it. And then there are allusions to sexuality, which, I mean, this is shit that kids are dealing with from at least 8th grade.
Well, let's be honest. The 8th grade experience is R-rated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, like some of the stuff. I mean, I'm as a nerd, high school and all of that stuff was just miserable in every way, shape, and form. So, and it was horrible and it was awful, and I can't say enough bad things about middle school and high school. And there is a lot of like shitty stuff that happens. There's a lot of people who are, and even kids, you know, who were the assholes and the bullies and all these things. I don't hold it against them. They were kids trying to figure out what to do, but because of that, teens is a weird, and 8th grade is a weird time for everyone involved. And I just feel like, I don't know. I think making a movie R-rated that takes place in that time and in that, I think makes sense for me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. It definitely makes sense. Whether or not it's a savvy business move, I think he's going to do well, though. I think this will be the start of an illustrious career for him.
I do too. I think I could picture there being some awards given out to this film just from the trailer.
So we've talked a little bit about James Gunn. Just a couple hours ago, maybe late last night, I'm not exactly sure. It was revealed that most likely they are scrapping James Gunn's script for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and Dave Bautista has continued to be really outspoken about his support of Gunn and his disapproval of what happened over at Disney. I just, man, it's starting to look less and less likely that is Guardians going to be more trouble than it's worth at this point?
No, they'll just throw what's his name on it, who directed Thor, and it'll be fine.
Oh yeah, Taika Waititi.
Yeah, that's all they'll do, because he pretty much did a worse version of Guardians of the Galaxy anyway. So, but I think, I don't know, as someone who's a giant James Gunn fan, I think he's a phenomenal director. I think he's not the best writer, personally, but I think his style over substance approach works for certain things. One of those things being Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not opposed to them getting rid of the script, because in my opinion they already got rid of the best part of James Gunn, which is his directing talent.
Yeah.
But in fact, I think that's why Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is worse than Guardians of the Galaxy 1, because of his involvement in writing. I think having Guardians of the Galaxy 1 get a normal script, and then him going back and perfecting and James Gunning up that script, I think was a brilliant move, and I think it gave it so much attitude. But I think it's weird. It's definitely a weird decision to throw out the script. That I can't even wrap my brain around.
Do you think it would be a bitch move of Taika Waititi to step in and do it, or do you fuck integrity when there's that much money and stakes involved?
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't think business is business.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not like, it would be a bitch move if he was the one who uncovered the tweets and then took it over. But, you know, someone else is going to direct that film no matter what.
That would be all sorts of messed up.
But no, I don't think so. In fact, I think he would do, as someone who, you know, my dislike of Thor Ragnarok, I think he'd do wonderful for Guardians of the Galaxy. I would be very excited to see his version of it.
So, pretty big headline today that I noticed, not necessarily in my fandom or things that I am, got my finger on the pulse of, but it looks like Ruby Rose is being cast as Batwoman on the CW TV universe. Can you tell me anything about Batwoman?
No, I don't know much about Batwoman. I know Batgirl.
Yeah.
You know, I have no idea, and I'm not a fan of the CW universe. I actually tried watching Flash, and I tried watching Arrow, and I don't understand the appeal personally. You know, they're super campy, and which I guess is cool, but so that's something that's. And have you ever seen anything with Ruby Rose in it as an actress? I've only seen her in the last Resident Evil movie, which she was in 2 seconds.
I've seen her not doing shit in a couple of movies. She was in John Wick 2. And she's a silent assassin. I think she's a mute character in it. So they've done a good job about just letting her walk around and look cool. But I don't think she's a talented actress. I know she's in the Meg. But no, I couldn't agree with you more, man. I guess this wasn't the best for either of us to talk about, because I don't keep up with the CW universe. I watched a couple episodes of Flash because everybody told me I should, and I wasn't vibing with it. I don't like the casting on CW. I don't like how it skews towards that kind of tween audience, and yeah, it is hokey, and just nothing really about it works. That said, I don't know. There's like Ruby Rose has got like a, she's got a look about her. She's got a distinctive look and style. So I'm sure she'll look great in a cowl.
She looks like Justin Bieber.
Hot take.
She does. Look at the picture of Justin Bieber and her side by side. It's pretty bizarre.
Give me 1 second. I'm about to. Ruby Rose.
Which I don't know if I'm not saying she's bad looking. I mean, Justin Bieber's pretty, man.
That's what I was about to say. You're saying Justin Bieber's good looking. Oh, hold up. Here we go. I gotta open this up for the viewing audience.
It legit looks like that could be his sister.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Let's see.
Like, yeah,
enhance.
Like,
I can't tell it to enhance. Let's see. Yeah, I can see it. It's that one picture in particular. I think it's probably the one you're talking about because they've got them side by side. She's got like yellow behind her and the same exact fucking haircut and chain.
I've never seen it. I just saw that I just said it when I was watching the movie.
I was great.
I was watching Resident Evil, and my brother's like, she's hot. And I go, she looks like Justin Bieber.
All right. Well, did you hear that Disney is like full speed ahead on their streaming service?
That I did hear, which I don't know. It sounds like they're making a lot of original content.
Yeah, it does. I mean, there's some things that I would be kind of excited about, like they're doing a Star Wars series, which I was a little lukewarm on because we get so much Star Wars content as it is. But Jon Favreau is somebody who I am a fan of his work pretty consistently, and I found out that it's taking place on Mandalore, which means we're gonna get a lot of Mandalorian shit, which is cool. That's the kind of stuff that I've liked about the extended universe that hasn't been explored too much in the movies. So, I'm cool with that. Do you have any interest in a Star Wars TV series for the first time?
You kind of hit the nail on the head for me. Like, I first of all love Jon Favreau. I think he's a very talented director. I think Iron Man is arguably, with the exception of Guardians of the Galaxy, Iron Man's easily my second favorite MCU film. Even though I had problems with Jungle Book, it's as far as not knowing which tone to take. It's not necessarily a bad directed film. It kind of just tried to please everybody.
Sure. I
think Favreau is a very good director. I think he's a very interesting guy. I think he has a good vision. So I'm excited. And I'm like you. I do think my problem with Star Wars has been, instead of the universe expanding as we got into prequels, it kind of just imploded on itself. It kind of just folded in instead of getting bigger. It was about one family, not about a galaxy. And so I'm excited to explore. I think that's why I like Solo so much. I like exploring parts that we don't get to see every time.
Yeah, I think that's something. It's something I would be curious about watching. And then in addition to that, I saw that they are doing, let me pull it up on the what am I trying to say? Star Wars. I had the window open a second ago, and then I closed. Oh, Disney streaming.
They're doing Clone Wars. They're doing bringing back the Clone Wars, which I don't know if you ever watched.
No, I didn't.
It's actually surprisingly good.
Oh, really? Good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
It's one of those things I would actually recommend watching. I never finished it, but it's definitely worth watching. It really is. If you're a Star Wars fan and you do like seeing more of the universe, it's very good. And in fact, it adds a lot of weight to, the Order 66 or whatever it is?
Yeah.
At the episode 3. So when they kill those characters, all those characters they kill, they write into the Clone Wars show, so that when they die in that scene, it actually means something.
You actually give a shit. Yeah. That's cool. I had no idea. I liked the 2D animated Clone Wars that was done by the artist of Samurai Jack.
Yeah, and this, I would say, for me personally, I liked even more.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I definitely am interested to check it out. I saw that they are having over 5,000 of their television episodes put onto the streaming site, which is fucking crazy. And they are not doing any R-rated stuff. They're going to be bringing all the Marvel and Star Wars titles over to them, and they're going to keep all their R-rated stuff relegated to Hulu. Do you think that's probably a pretty similar approach to what they could do with this Disney-Fox merger, is just keep the Fox banner and keep all the R-rated shit over there?
I'm hoping that's what they do with the Fox banner, because, man, they have some of my favorite franchises of all time.
It would be so terrible for them to just shut it all down.
And I don't think they will. I think they'll be smart enough. I think they'll just keep the Fox name and everything. Maybe they won't. Maybe it'll be like Disney Fox or Disney whatever,
Yeah, like actually throw it in there.
But I think they'll be smart enough too, because I don't think they'll, cut off their nose, spite their face sort of thing. I think that would be dumb on their end to do. But I don't know. I think it's funny because I saw some people freaking out and being like, oh, why is it only, non-R-rated stuff on our streaming service? I was like, oh, you mean it's almost like Disney makes kids films?
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding.
Like something that I get criticized for saying. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what they do.
So moving out of Star Wars and into Star Trek, I saw that there was a Las Vegas Comic-Con and they were doing a Star Trek panel. I think for whoever has Discovery, is it NBC?
I have no idea.
Something all access. Anyways, they're the streaming service that has Star Trek Discovery is launching a new Star Trek series with Jean-Luc Picard of The Next Generation. He's returning, and he made an announcement on stage. I watched The Next Generation a bit, like not religiously. It was just on a lot as a kid, so I know the characters pretty well, like Riker and Data and Bones. No, I'm just kidding. The other ones.
I don't know how many. I was gonna say I knew Jean-Luc Picard, and I think that and Data was the only ones that I think I know off the top of my head.
Okay, so I'm a little more familiar with it than you are. I don't know. Star Trek, man. What are your thoughts on just the franchise still continuing to go on and bringing back like this guy?
I think it's awesome. I've heard great things about the show. I've heard from a lot of people it's actually one of the better versions. I don't know if that's true but I've heard some really good things. And I think everyone in our generation were the only Star Trek. Like, unlike you, I'm not really a fan. I don't dislike it, but I think all we really know is the Patrick Stewart one. Like, yeah. That's such a generational thing that, like, you couldn't miss it unless you were really trying to miss it.
Yeah, for sure. I like him enough to be like, oh, that's cool. Like anything he's attached to, I'm like, right on.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Like, it's Patrick Stewart. Like, he's awesome.
So I saved this for last. I thought maybe we could have a conversation about it for a minute before we move on to the actual topic of the week. Metal Gear Solid is getting a movie. It's going to be run, I think, written and directed by John Voight Roberts, who was the gentleman behind Kong Skull Island, as well as he did a smaller movie before that. I'll pull it up in just a second. But it looks like they are going to be embracing the strange and quirky elements that are very, specific to anime and to, I guess, Japanese storytelling a lot of times. And I'm real curious about it. What are your thoughts on all of this?
So I'm a firm believer of, like, it's, for me, cool that's happening for fans. So I have a weird thing about video games. I don't have this obsession that people have where they're like, we need video game movies to, like, I'm like, if you have a good version of the game, you don't necessarily need it. But I understand wanting to see your favorite character, I guess, come alive.
Sure.
But so I'm like lukewarm to it, and I am not a Metal Gear fan. I loved Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2, but they just kind of got a little too crazy for me, and I feel like Hideo Kojima is a severely overrated storyteller. I won't say he's an overrated game designer, but as far as a storyteller, I think he's severely overrated, and I don't really understand the appeal personally of wanting to see that story come alive, but I'm happy it exists for people who will see it. Unless it looks like a phenomenal movie, I don't think I'll see it. But I like some weird shit, and I like anime, so who knows? I might come away impressed.
I don't remember the 98 Metal Gear being particularly far out. Like, I remember it being pretty grounded for the most part. I mean, it is a video game, so, you know, the further you get into it, it does get a little bit more far out. But I do think, kind of like you said, it continued to get more, you know, more wonky and more fantastical as it went along. I really like the gameplay of Metal Gear, and that's something that's not going to translate to the movie. I mean, all of the stealth shit and, like, what really gives that game its feel is playing it. And I think that's kind of like back to what you said, is like the fascination with seeing something that's a fundamentally different experience is never going to be as immersive. It's never going to be as well fleshed out as the storylines you actually get from playing through a game like that. So while I do think it's a cool concept, while I do love the title and the property, I've not seen anything, not one fucking thing to let me believe this is going to be a good movie.
I agree with you. There are video games that I'm like, the story's phenomenal. Like, there are certain video games where I think the story actually outpaces the gameplay. I'd say like BioShock Infinite, mediocre gameplay, phenomenal story. I would like to see that as a movie because I actually think it would probably even perform a little bit better. But when there's stuff like Metal Gear, where to me it is a gameplay-centric thing, it's kind of like how there's rumors that they're going to make a Mario movie. It's like, why?
Yeah.
You know, like Mario is a gameplay. They're going to make another one. Like, Mario is a gameplay property. Like, that's what it's known for. You know, like, it's like I'm playing No Man's Sky and enjoying it right now. But I want to see a new movie? No, because what's fun is farming. Do I want to see a guy shoot a laser for an hour? No. You know, it's a different medium, and it should be treated as such. I'm a firm believer of, and like as someone who reads a lot, both comic books and books, it's a different medium, and there's different roles, and sometimes something can't translate. And I think as far as like the written word and this is gonna be a weird tangent. So I think like you can translate written word to film because that's what it is. You know, like you write a script before you do it. Film is almost the evolution of all of the predecessors that came before it, whether it's painting, it's photography, it's music, it's the culmination of that. And video games as a newer medium is a culmination of everything that can become of it. And it's weird to me to strip down a newer medium to a previous generation of a medium.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Like, I don't think, I mean, I've read books based on movies, or a perfect example, a lot of times they do comic books based on actual books, based on actual novels, and as someone who's a huge graphic novel fan, I don't understand that. If I'm going to read that, I'll just read the book.
Right.
That's, you know, I think there's things that are better, and I don't know, it's a weird thing that there's a lot of people who force it, and I'm like, cool, more power to you if that's what you want to see. It's just video game movies, I don't think are for me.
No, not till this point for sure. Maybe this will be the one, but real quick, shout out to Venice Beach Sports Network in the chat. How you doing, man? If you guys have not went over and checked out his content, send him over there. Head over there. Tell him I sent you. Say what's up. Maybe even click that subscribe button. He said The Next Generation is some of the best writing on television.
I've actually thought about going back and checking it out because I've heard like some phenomenal things about it as someone who's never really sat down and like actively watched it.
He also said supposedly the Star Wars show is going to cost $10 million an episode. Yeah, it's a 10-run episode, so it's going to be $100 million 10-episode arc, and that is Game of Thrones status. That's just huge budget. Still not quite as big as the Lord of the Rings budget for Amazon, which is, that's a whole different conversation. But we're going to go ahead and move into the weekly topic, which this week is a doozy. Caleb actually was suggesting a couple topic ideas. I was completely at a loss. I didn't know what the fuck we were going to talk about. And then it came to you in a moment of clarity when you saw that the Oscars are adding a new category. That's not all. They're actually adding a couple of new policies, but the big sexy headline is that they're adding a new category. What are you thinking about this? Yeah,
so they're adding a new category called, was it Best Popular Picture, I guess is the new category that everyone's freaking out about?
I think. Let me look at the exact like what they're actually calling it.
But that's essentially what it is. It's best popular feature.
Yes,
and
yes.
A lot of the hot takes from journalists in film, a lot of the hot takes that are not hot takes because they're all just virtue signaling, but is that that this is a bad thing because of course it happens in the year that Black Panther is getting a lot of Oscar buzz, and that this is just like a fake award. It's I think one journalist called it the ghetto award. They just throw out to people, and so people are thinking it's like a stab at Black Panther, that because people are worried that Black Panther is going to win an Oscar. And my take on it is, if you are a fan of Black Panther, you should be very happy about this category, because this is the only way Black Panther should or could ever win an Oscar.
Hot take.
It's not that good of a movie. I like Black Panther. I'm not saying that. I'm not like saying it's a bad movie. I think it's actually one of the stronger Marvel films. But there are movies that I love that are not Academy Award-winning films, and that's fine. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of outrage or nothing because of fanboys, personally.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can definitely see both sides of it. You know, when you say it like that, there's a lot of validity to that. Genre movies in general are oftentimes overlooked. Now, does that make them less popular? Well, no, certainly not. It just means that they're not the kind of movies that the Academy typically nominates. They look for a very specific kind of thing. There's almost like a formula to the kind of movies that are going to win Oscars, and it's the antithesis to what makes a good 4-quadrant blockbuster. So the two of those things, there's not a lot of crossover, right?
Well, and the thing that always cracks me up is like people go, well, this movie's popular. Those same people, and I use this argument all the time when I go, oh, I don't like this movie. And they go, oh, well, it's popular. You're wrong. And I go, oh, so you love Justin Bieber. Or you love Taylor Swift.
Or even Transformers, right.
Yeah, like there's nothing wrong with something being popular. Just because it's popular, and now I'm a firm believer of all art is subjective. So if you think Black Panther is the greatest movie of all time, more power to you. It is the greatest movie to you. And I'm not going to sit here and argue that for you, but like, I don't know, to me, like, when I know people who were like, Black Panther is so deserving of an Oscar. I'm like, Black Panther is deserving of an Oscar if you've only seen one movie this year.
Right.
And that's Black Panther.
Right.
Like, it's just, I feel like genre films, I feel like there are genre films that could take that, because I do think there's some horror films, even a movie that you liked and I didn't, Hereditary, even though that movie didn't connect with me, if that's a genre film that I think would be totally within warrant of being, being given an Oscar, I think it would definitely work and it would make sense.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I fundamentally don't really care about the Oscars that much. Even though I've had that conversation where, like, I'm not so invested to where it's going to make or break me either way. I do understand the perspective of it devalues movies. Like, for example, Logan was nominated for Best Screenplay, fair and square, before there was any new category added. And now does it take away from that because now popular movies don't have to strive to be better? They haven't really spelled out what the prerequisites or what the credentials are for you to be allowed into this category. But there are crossovers every once in a while, like Return of the King. I think that was an achievement that did deserve some sort of credit, but it is not the kind of movie that normally wins Oscars.
I would agree with that 100%. Like, I think that, it's one of those things where I think, certain movies do, and I do think this does devalue it, because it's like, oh, I won an Oscar, and I do think it is. It's not like a quote-unquote real Oscar, and I do agree with that, But at the same time, I'm like, it was the same people who said, and it's another movie that I really enjoyed, but like, I remember a bunch of people were clamoring for Wonder Woman. They were like, Wonder Woman should win an award, and I was just like, what are you talking about? Because I do think this movie's like Logan. Logan is a phenomenal film. even though the third act is a very stereotypical blockbuster. But it's still a wonderful film. I think it would have been better had they not done that third act that way. But I think it does devalue the fact that that was a comic book movie that made it to that level of prestige.
Right. And just kind of to muddy the water even further, they are, pulling other nominations and other winners from the actual telecast to keep it at 3 hours. And it's going to push out either the short films or the technical awards. So a lot of the unsung heroes of the industry get a little chance to shine at the Oscars, and I feel like this is another way to just kind of push them off in favor of the big glamorous Oscars. Again, you're get rid of sound mixing so that you can have best animated, whatever the subcategory is that's getting tacked on. So that's kind of a shame, but would you, like, in some ways Black Panther should not be overlooked. I think that it caught something. It caught a moment in time, and it was a kind of a pivotal moment moving forward, whether or not it's from a technical achievements, whatever it was. It struck a chord with audiences. It's like the third highest grossing domestic film of all time, and it crossed over audiences generationally, racially, and all of those kind of things. So, and the same kind of with Wonder Woman. So on one hand, should we give a nomination for like cultural impact, social significance, something like that, to where it doesn't devalue what it is? It just acknowledges that it's not a movie that was beloved by the Academy, but it was a movie that resonated with people on a different level.
That's something that I think would actually maybe make sense. Personally, I wouldn't be for it, but then again, I'm like you. I don't really care about award shows at all, so it really doesn't affect me, so it's easy to talk about. But for me, like, I don't know, I have a hard time even with that, because like, this, love it or hate it, a big part of Black Panther's success was just striking while the iron's hot with identity politics and racial politics in this country, which is cool. I do think that's the purpose of art, is to strike, when the iron's hot and hit a chord, and it definitely did. But part of that was like social media campaigns really propelling this movie forward, into a big thing. And I don't know, I just think it's not a movie that I think is in that upper echelon of films. It's a movie that is, besides the race of the cast, there's nothing phenomenal about it besides the fact that it's an all-black cast. And unless you're one of these people who I guess because it's a big blockbuster with an all-black cast, like a big comic book movie, that besides that, though, I don't see anything phenomenal about the film.
Then we're looking at, like, kind of, I think back to what you said at the beginning, we're not really nominating these movies on their prestige or their technical achievements. It just becomes like a popularity contest, or and I can see how it would be a slippery slope, because it's like, okay, this year we're gonna give Wonder Woman an award because it was the first female-led superhero movie. Okay, great. This year we're going to give, and obviously this is just throwing them out, we're going to give Black Panther an award this year because it's got an all-black cast in a mainstream superhero movie. So then what is the next year? All right, great, we've got that figured out. 10 years down the line, what's the next thing that it's going to take to keep that category going? So I can see how that would be even problematic.
Well, it's kind of like, I don't know if you remember when Jamie Foxx got real mad about the Oscar So White thing. You remember this?
No, I remember the whole Oscar So White controversy, but not him specifically.
Yeah, he was mad at the movement itself, because he was like, because he won an Academy Award. Right. Yeah, and he was like, well, now my award is meaningless, Yeah. He's like, I worked ass off and I perfected my craft, and now you guys kind of took that away from me.
Yeah.
And I do understand where he's coming from, because he's like, now I'm going to be, he obviously deserved it. I really do think he did. I think he definitely deserved that award. I thought he was, even though I'm lukewarm on Jamie Foxx, we had this conversation with the Spawn casting. In that particular performance, he's phenomenal. I think he does, and honestly, that's his best performance. I think he does deserve an award, and I could understand if I had won a prestigious award for whatever reason, and then the next year there was a physical attribute thing that I happened to share with some other people, who then were like, well, we need to put more people, we need to give more awards to these people. I think I kind of would feel like Jamie Foxx, be like, well, I worked my ass off to get here.
I think in a lot of ways that if Jamie Foxx is kind of safe from that, and so is Denzel or whatever, because I don't think you can retroactively devalue the awards that they won. But that said, if you were to win it this year, if you were to win it next year, there's going to be an element in their minds is did I win this fair and square? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I don't know, a guy who I actually did, even though I didn't love the movie, I did think was phenomenal in the movie. I cannot remember his name. He's from Black Panther and Get Out. The lead from Get Out. What is his name?
Daniel Kaluuya?
Yes. I thought in Get Out it was phenomenal. But there would be that whole thing if he won after that. It was only because of whatever, and because of his race and
politics.
And that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks because that is someone who I think, for me, as someone who didn't even like the movie that much, I think if he won a Best Actor, I would be like, yeah, I think that's deserving. He gave a hell of a performance in that film.
But
I don't know.
To be even on a whole different side of this whole discussion that we haven't even touched on, take all the political shit out of it. This is a ratings thing also. Even if it doesn't go to Black Panther, let's say it goes to Jurassic World, Fallen fucking Kingdom, or whatever it goes to, this is to connect with the quote-unquote nerd culture or the mainstream audiences, younger viewers and things like that. And this is, again, another attempt for them to hippen up the Oscars. And, it really comes down to, is what they're after a show with high ratings, or is what they're after a prestigious award show for the acting community?
It's turned into so I'm going to use this example. It's going to be a video game example. There's the Game Awards, and then there's the Dice Awards, and the people who the Dice Award actually means something. The Game Awards is a popularity contest, fun
it's like
sort
the
of.
VMAs.
Yeah, and I feel like the Oscars are going that way. With this, they are. It is a cash grab, and because apparently viewership is down year after year after year for all of these award shows. Partially, I think it is because I do think partially it's because they're just boring, and I think culturally we're shifting away from that. I do also think though that. Have you ever, the last time I tried to watch one of these award shows, it was actually last year. I watched clips of it and stuff. It was pretty much just a political rally. And I do think that's alienating, because whether you want it or not, this country's going to be roughly a 50-50 split, or a 30-30-30, with the Senate being about 30. And I'm like, you're alienating a huge chunk of your audience. And then there's other people that might even be on your side, your quote unquote side, who are getting sick of it because they didn't come there to hear you talk about politics.
It was fucking gross, dude. And I am so open to people using the platform, but god damn, it seemed like an obligation more than it seemed sincere from most everybody. They're actors. I don't trust them in the first place. You know what I mean?
No, there was no sincerity. I won't say no. There are probably a couple of people, but I do feel like a lot of it is it's expected now.
Yeah,
And,
you're gonna be the one woman to get up there and not say something. You know what I mean?
And I feel like in a world right now where everything is, we get just hit over the head with politics all day, every day. And I think there's certain things that you don't want to see, take a show like the Game Awards, and it is a business, and it does decent numbers. Granted, they've gone all online now, but you watch that, guess what it's about? shocker, video games. You know, and I feel like if they wanted to increase their ratings, this may not be a bad idea. I actually think it's probably a very good idea. But another thing that's a really good idea is just kind of cool it with some of the other stuff. You know, I think that would definitely help. I think it would be a smart place, because I think right now we could all use a thing that we could rally around to realize we're all the same.
Yeah.
And it could be that thing, and not necessarily should. I won't even say should, because I think it's an art, and art, it has many different roles or no role at all, depending on how you want to as an artist present it. But I feel like it would be nice. I mean, you can't watch, there's politics and everything, including sports and award shows, and I feel like I don't think that's why the popular category was created. I think it was like, hey, people want to, I think it was a popularity thing. But then I even saw the reaction to it, and it literally, the hot takes, like I said, all over Facebook and everything, the hot takes were, well, this is because, you know, they don't want to give it to Black Panther because they're racist, and like that's the hot takes I saw all over it everywhere. And I'm like, maybe that is, maybe this is the evil, racist Hollywood.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out. There's not a whole lot of information right now. I asked Victoria specifically before we started recording, and she's like, well, Jeremy, I really don't have enough information to make an informed decision. And I was like, no, but me and Caleb got you covered.
Yeah, we're like, no, we'll say stupid shit that we are not qualified to talk about or nearly intelligent enough to talk about, but God damn it, we will talk about it.
And on that note, thank you guys so much for stopping by to check out this week's edition of Movies Are Terrible. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, take just a second to click that little thumbs up button. It really helps my self-esteem. And head over and check out Caleb Says Stuff on YouTube. He's got a fantastic channel. And follow me at the little graphic down there. You can follow Caleb at the little graphic down there. And until next time, be terrible. And